Hello guys and welcome back to the Facts with JJJ. I'm Jacob.
I'm Jack.
And I'm Jake.
And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the MCU's one and only Iron Man, but more importantly, who could take his place in the MCU after his honourable sacrifice in Avengers Endgame. It goes without saying, Iron Man could never truly be replaced in the MCU. He started the whole cinematic universe off and has appeared in 3 of his own films alongside many others outside his franchise, so it's fairly obvious that he's a massive part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Many fans were devastated to see him snap his fingers and in many cases were reduced to tears. Some fans, like us, know Tony can never actually be replaced due to the fact that he is now one of the biggest, most influential characters ever created. However, his death has left a huge void in the MCU, so someone has to take his place, and we believe we have an amazing roster of potential candidates, from characters who still hold a strong presence in the MCU to those who are long forgotten even in the comics. So without further ado, here's our list of the top characters who we believe could replace Tony Stark in the MCU.
At the top of our list is Rescue, the Iron Man armour piloted by Pepper Potts. This may seem like a very obvious pick, but that does not make it an irrelevant suggestion. Having Pepper take Tony's place after his death would be a great way of keeping the Iron Man character alive, and still related to Tony. Pepper has been in the MCU since the first film, which is even longer than Thor and Captain America, so she's not just some random side character that's been plucked out of nowhere. Even if her long-standing presence in the MCU or her amazing performance in Endgame isn't enough to convince you, being Tony's wife alone makes her the perfect character to take on the mantle and become the next armoured hero. However, there are a few flaws with this suggestion. In Iron Man 3, Pepper was given superpowers by Aldrich Killian, the main antagonist of the film, which allowed her to get a range of abilities due to the extremist virus. At the end of the film, Tony took these powers away from Pepper because she did not want them. Fans still question whether she truly lost these powers or not. But either way, the fact that she did not want these powers back then suggests that she probably does not want them now, especially after everything that has happened and the pressure of taking Tony's place. You could argue that his death may have persuaded her to become an Avenger, but Gwyneth Paltrow has said that she has no interest in staying in the MCU, implying that a more intense role as Rescue is not fit for her.
The next character that we have decided to put on the list, for similar reasons to Pepper, is Morgan Stark. Morgan was introduced in Avengers Endgame and won over many fans' hearts. The "I love you 3000" quote has been forever engraved in fans' minds, and she is truly a character we will never forget. But what makes us think she is capable of being Iron Man? Well, for a start, she's Morgan Stark, who the fans desperately want to see more of, and would like to see take on the mantle. She too would be able to keep this character in the Marvel Universe, while also keeping Tony's legacy alive for the citizens of Earth in the MCU, but also for us as viewers when watching the films she'd show up in. She also seems like the sort of character who would want to be like her father, which makes us believe that her character would be up for doing this. In other words, she has a lot of potential in the MCU. Morgan was meant to make an appearance at the end of Avengers Endgame as a teenager, portrayed by Catherine Langford, which suggests Marvel do want to implement a teenage Morgan in the MCU in some way. Most likely in a young Avengers team or to make her a member of the new Avengers. We would be all up for this idea, but Morgan is very young in the MCU and is a lot younger than Peter Parker and Cassie Lang, who would probably be in the Young Avengers soon. Due to her being so young, we believe the chances of her becoming Iron Woman are decreased, as the MCU will probably find a new replacement for Iron Man by the time she is old enough to defend Earth, putting her fairly high up in our list.
Now our next pick is a character who is not yet in the MCU, which is Ironheart. You may not have heard of Ironheart, which we don't blame you for. The MCU is so full on with heroes and cameos and teasers and Easter eggs that the comic book heroes who aren't on the big screen are heavily overshadowed. However, Ironheart may not be overshadowed for too long if she does make her MCU debut. Ironheart is a female African-American Iron Man who attends the Massachusetts Institute of Technology on scholarship. Working alone, she designs a suit of armour similar to Iron Man's armour using stolen materials from campus. When campus security knocks at her door, she flees while wearing the suit. Williams later prevents 2 inmates from escaping the New Mexico State Penitentiary, and Tony Stark hears of her accomplishments, then goes to meet her. During the meeting, Tony Stark decides that he will endorse her decision to become a superheroine and makes her an Avenger. While this may not be accurate to the MCU, with Tony Stark being dead and the Avengers spread around the galaxy, it could still be implemented in some way. Riri has been name-dropped by Kevin Feige, but he will not elaborate on when we could see her in the MCU. This could mean one of 2 things. They aren't considering her for the MCU yet, or they have plans for her. It's as simple as that. And due to Feige's secrecy, it could suggest that we'll see her very soon. In addition to this, because of Marvel's everlasting quest to promote diversity, Ironheart's chances of becoming the next Iron Man are heightened due to her race and middle-class background. It would not surprise me if instead of Riri Williams becoming Ironheart, Marvel decided to make Shuri Ironheart instead. She is definitely capable of making an Iron Man suit, as she's the smartest person in the MCU, which could be made of vibranium and have a similar design to the suits we saw in the Avengers Damage Control trailer, where the fans got hyped for the suits alone. All in all, Ironheart could be easily implemented into the MCU, promote diversity, and spice up Iron Man's character with vibranium armour, which we think makes her a very likely candidate.
Our next character is honestly one of my favourite characters, which is War Machine, piloted by James Rhodes. Rhodes is already an Iron Man, wearing the War Machine suit in many films and the Iron Patriot armour in Iron Man 3, so it wouldn't be strange to see him in a flying metal suit of armour. There are several storylines which Marvel could pursue when making Rhodes the main Iron Man. The first is that he decides to straight up take Tony's place. This may seem harsh, but it's very possible. He's got a lot of experience with the armour, and seems to have no intent of retiring from the position. I have no doubt that Rhodes will stay as War Machine, or the Iron Patriot, up until the day he dies, which could make him an easy character to replace Tony. He's been Tony's best friend since Iron Man 1, so the fans probably wouldn't be offended if he took the role, and personally, I think it'd be a great way to keep the new Iron Man related to the old one. Another storyline is him becoming the Iron Patriot again, and working for the American government. After the events of Infinity War and Endgame, the government are going to have some serious pressure to defend Earth against the threats that the army can't handle. Now that the Avengers are scattered around the universe, Natasha Romanoff and Tony are dead, and Captain America is retired, the government are probably going to want their own lapdog, which is the perfect job for Rhodes. That was basically Iron Patriot's purpose in Iron Man 3, and it wouldn't be a stretch to say that the government wanted him to take on this role again. It could serve as a replacement Iron Man that would be under the government's control and also give the public a reason to stay patriotic in Captain America's absence, giving the government a perfect motive to make this happen. Either way, I believe War Machine will always be part of the MCU, and would love to see him get the attention he deserves by stepping up and becoming the new Iron Man.
Our second to last pick is Peter Parker, who we believe is most likely to become Iron Man. Spider-Man was introduced into the MCU in Civil War, which blew fans away. Spider-Man's appearance was unexpected and pulled off perfectly, which led to him getting 2 standalone films. In Civil War, he was recruited by Tony. In the first Spider-Man MCU film, it was all about him wanting to be more involved with the Avengers and proving himself to Tony. However, in Spider-Man Far From Home, it is all about him mourning Tony and feeling the pressure to take his place. Tony Stark is the MCU's Uncle Ben for Peter, and is heavily involved in Spidey's story. In other words, Spider-Man has been set up since Civil War to take on Iron Man's place. Not only does he have the intelligence to make the suits, as demonstrated in Far From Home, but he also has his own Iron Spider suit made by Tony himself. Plus, Spider-Man has the full support of Happy Hogan, who has been in the MCU since Iron Man 1. We will keep this pick short, as it is pretty straightforward, and there is not much to explain, considering the MCU has already explained it for us. All in all, we think that Spidey's storyline is amazing, and we support the direction it's going in. He will make a great Iron Man in the future, but in all honesty, it isn't our top pick for several reasons. We love Spidey as a character, and we feel that he is being overshadowed by Iron Man too much, as some of his best traits and storylines have not yet been explored in the MCU. But mainly, he isn't our top pick, because we believe that the next MCU's Iron Man is Iron Lad.
Some of you may not recognise the name Iron Lad, as he is not yet in the MCU, but do not fret, we are about to explain his story to you in great detail. By explaining this pick, we will not just be choosing a new Iron Man, but setting up a potential villain in the MCU, which will link to the Infinity Saga, linking the character to a new MCU team, which has been hinted at in recent years, and ultimately, making the character link all the way back to Iron Man 3. Iron Lad, also known as Nathaniel Richards, is put simply a teenage Iron Man, with an incredible storyline that includes the Young Avengers and a huge Marvel villain, Kang the Conqueror. When he was 16 years old, Nathaniel Richards was rescued by his time-travelling adult self, Kang the Conqueror, moments before he would have been hospitalised for years. His hospitalisation was due to a knife attack by bullies, an event that originally shaped his development into a villain. Kang takes his teenage self through time to witness the future battles and glory that would result in his transformation into Kang the Conqueror, hoping to inspire his younger self. However, it backfires, and Nate is horrified at the life of evil his future self shows him.
Nate takes the time travel technology given to him by Kang and transports himself to the past where Kang wanted him to kill the bullies. Instead, he seeks the Avengers for assistance, but he finds the Avengers are disbanded. Seeking answers, he downloads the remnants of the destroyed Vision's operating system into his armour. This reveals a failsafe plan created to reform the Avengers should they disband or fall in action by locating the next generation of Avengers, all of whom have some tie to the original team. This would work extremely well in the MCU due to the events of Infinity War and Endgame. These are the exact type of events that Vision made this backup plan for, so writers would find it extremely easy adding this storyline into the MCU without it feeling out of place.
It could be stated that Vision created this plan before Infinity War, or they could rework it into the story so that it makes more of a relation to Tony. They could say that Tony created the failsafe after defeating the Chitauri army or Ultron, which would make sense as in these films, Tony is extremely damaged and has acquired a form of PTSD after almost dying from both of these events. If Kevin Feige wanted the failsafe to have been in more recent years, they could explain that Bruce Banner made the plan in Wakanda in Infinity War, or Tony could have made the plan during his time in the cabin in Endgame. All of these storylines would make sense and could make the whole storyline of Nate easier for casual fans to follow.
Just like in the comics, Nate would assemble his new team, the Young Avengers, with the sole purpose of defeating his future self and reshaping his own future. In the comics, he models his armour after the Avenger Iron Man and calls himself Iron Lad. This would be a great way to introduce the Young Avengers into the MCU, which has been highly anticipated by fans for years. We already have Cassie Lang and Peter Parker in the MCU, and very young versions of Morgan Stark alongside the new Hawkeye. Wiccan, Hulkling and Nova also have a high chance of joining the MCU soon, where they could also join this team, but we'll explain all this in another video. In addition to this, a Miss Marvel series is confirmed, so there is a high chance she will also be in the team.
In the comics, Kang dies at the hand of Iron Lad, which has a knock-on effect killing all the Avengers in the future, making several young Avengers disappear and killing Jessica Jones' baby. Because of this, Nate decides to go back in time and stop his past self from forming the Young Avengers and allows himself to become Kang, to make sure the timeline stays the same. We can't imagine this happening in the MCU though. Nate would obviously stay as Iron Lad and carry on fighting threats with the Young Avengers in present day, but the majority of this storyline could still work. Kang the Conqueror could have some sort of relation to the Infinity Saga. First of all, the Time Stone could be made relevant in this story for obvious reasons, or he could have originally started using the time travel technology created in Endgame to hop through time and space, keeping phases 5 or 6 linked back to phase 3, which would be a nice way to make the MCU's old phases still feel relevant.
Our main reason we picked this version of Iron Man for our top pick is because he could be played by Ty Simpkins, who played Harley Keener in Iron Man 3. This would be an absolutely incredible callback to the earlier MCU films, and would be an amazing way to bring his character back into the MCU. Everyone enjoyed Simpkins' performance in Iron Man 3, possibly more than the film, so fans definitely wouldn't be disappointed if he returned to the role. It would make sense for him to make a suit like Tony's, as Tony was his hero in Iron Man 3, and obviously still is due to his appearance at Tony's funeral in Endgame. Fans went wild when they saw him at the funeral, and are still hoping it leads to something more. Even if Marvel don't want to make the storyline so complicated with Iron Lad, it could still work. Remove Kang from the equation and say that after the funeral he knew he had to step up and make himself a suit like Tony's. The story doesn't have to be so complicated and can be made as simple as that. We know that Nate and Harley have different names, but it definitely wouldn't make that much of a difference if we replaced Nate's name with Harley. Overall, we think this is a great idea and could be pulled off extremely well in the MCU.
But anyway, thank you guys for watching this video, and we hope to see you in the next one. If you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe for more of our content. We really appreciate that you guys watched this video. It's an extra long one, so if you did make it this far, comment down below and let us know that. Cheers for watching, and we hope to see you again on The Facts with JJJ.